So yeah, it's just it doesn't have a soundboard; just has a speaker under the pick guard. I think I showed you that, Eric. I guess
Oh yeah.
Let's get some more light in here.
Here, pop it out and I can make it full screen. There we go. You're much bigger now. Oh, neat. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
that's really cool.
There's a big speaker here. There's little speakers here and here, and then they just cover it up with a pick guard.
Neat. God, look at this crew. Woo!
Woo! Let me see if I can find the cord for it. Here, cord, here, boy. There's the cord.
All right, I got it working.
At least one of us has all their hair.
Let's see how you look at my age, though.
Line out.
How old are you?
50.
You're 50.
Fumsik.
50.
Yes, Joe, 50. What are you, 36? 36?
Joe's only
no.
24.
No.
Is the guitar coming through this time?
I think if I remember correctly, me and Joe are the same age, aren't we?
How old are
42.
you?
Oh, actually, no. I've hit 43 now.
I turned 42 back in July. So
you're no longer a Doug Adams joke.
I'm 48.
Yes, no.
It's sort of in the middle there.
I am.
Yeah, you're still the answer to the universe.
That's right. Life, the universe, and everything.
Don't tell your wife; she'll laugh.
I like it when she laughs. It's fun.
Londoner, if you're on here, let me know if we got.
Just thinking of you as an answer is a little bit funny.
Thinking of me having an answer, let alone being the answer.
So I did ask, is the guitar coming through or not?
A little bit.
Very slightly.
It cuts in and out.
Very slightly.
Very slightly. Yeah.
Well, it's plugged directly into the Focusrite, so it should go right through.
You got the button saying INS.
I'm actually overloading it now.
We're hearing it through the mic.
That you shouldn't hear it through the mic because it's nothing but strings through the mic. It's going straight into the Focusrite.
Well, then it's something that you have to have like a gate. There's something that's stopping it from coming through.
All right.
Do you have the INST button turned on and the number 2 knob turned up?
I did not have the INST button. How about now? That's too loud, right?
Still not really coming through like as if it's plugged straight in. Yeah, it's so funny. It just sounds like you've got it on an amplifier in the room, and it's.
What happens if you switch to that monitor that you were on before?
What?
When you were switching your microphones, what happens when you switch to the monitor for that?
Then you can't hear me.
Then you could play your guitar.
Let's see here.
If you got the number 2 knob turned up and INST turned on, it should be coming through.
Yes, I do.
Okay, try it again. Ooh, whatever you just did, undo it. Oh, there you go. Nope, nothing.
Microphone. What?
Well,
Talk to me.
Now you're back.
The guitar sounded great.
Sounded great,
it did?
man.
Are you joking me or?
We're joking you.
Okay.
Something ain't right.
Actually, sounds quite a bit treble.
No, it don't. Not to us.
Well, to me it does.
All right. Turn your microphone off at the switch on the mic and then try to play it. Yeah, so it's working. It's just there's something wrong with the cable or something. What do you got the number 2 knob sitting at?
I've got the number 2 knob sitting about 2 o'clock. And the number 1 knob is about 3 o'clock. And my headphones are about 3 o'clock. And you'll probably want me to turn that down if it starts echoing.
No, we're on.
But I'm hearing everything just fine in my headphones as if everything was perfect. And if it's not, then I need to know that.
I bet it's getting filtered out by Discord, actually.
It sounds like it's a noise gate.
Zoom has a gate on it that you have to go to original sound to get the guitars to play.
Yeah. And I think...
which does not exist on the Linux side, by the way. So there's a gate, huh?
Well, I'm...
All right. Well, that's going to be a problem if I can't play this.
So you scroll all the way down and maybe turn off echo cancellation or automatic gain control. Turn that off.
Where? What? Huh?
The voice and video settings on Discord.
I see user settings.
Go all the way to the bottom left corner. There's a gear. Hit that, and then towards
voice and video. Input device. Do what now?
Scroll all the way to the bottom, and you've
got
noise suppression, automatic gain control. Turn off the noise suppression. Turn off the gain control.
Boy, this is a big long list, but I haven't seen noise suppression yet. There's automatic gain control.
Noise suppression should have standard and none.
Yeah, it's on crisp. K risp.
We'll turn it to none and let's see what happens.
Okay.
Other than some clipping, that sounds a little bit better.
It's
a little better.
Pretty tinny to me, but.
Well, yes, tinny, but we're talking about what's coming through.
Yeah.
It's got advanced some kind of voice going on because it goes instantly silent whenever it's got no decay whatsoever. It just completely drops out right when you strum it.
Echo cancellation is on. AV1 video codec. I don't know what that is. Hardware acceleration. OpenH264.
That's all video.
That's all video. So that's all I can do then.
What I would try doing at some point, and you don't have to do it now, quack, quack, is try to record off of Discord. Just open a audio recorder on your desktop, Audacity, whatever it is you normally record with, and see if you can get sound to come through from the guitar. You might have to switch a source or something like that, but just see if you can get that signal to actually pass through.
Whoa.
What? I just heard a bottom crash. Oh, that was you. Yeah, you're all ganging up on me now.
What's all this nonsense? Oh, God. Reason number 2.
Are we having fun yet?
Obviously.
I bet you thought you were done being a teacher for a week. That sounds a lot better.
Hey, except tuning. Oh, I'm on.
Sounds decent.
Fusion. I was on Fusion.
Coming across.
Let's try to get straight acoustic. Turn it down. I have noticed that the main setting, which is called acoustic, uses a lot less energy than any of the other settings. because whenever I use anything else, I have to really turn this thing up. And since it's running on battery, that is something to know. All right, I'm turning this thing off. Unplugging. Having too much fun. Ta-da. So yes, that's the first time I've touched it since I came back from South Carolina. Thank you for the prompt.
It sounds good.
Exactly where we were in one of the creating two of the mosques that have been damaged, and actually one of the restaurants that was collapsed. Yeah, but we went up to the
I'm trying really hard to listen.
Okay, I'm back. Front, both sides.
All right, so
we're doing something with Dale this time. What are we talking about?
He has another history piece that he wanted to do.
Okay. Have we saved the text that we came up with on AOSPs?
it's still on the Nextcloud notes. I just took it off of the website, public copy.
Okay, well, it should be taken out of the Nextcloud notes and maybe just left in the folder as a separate file.
Or leave it alone.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Are we going to use it?
The idea is to use it. We only did half of what we meant to do because it seemed like a good place to stop since we were talking Linux on mobile, and AOSP is not exactly that.
Okay. Well, you can take it out and, like, I don't know, just put it as a working copy or whatever.
So what were your titles for the last show, Bill?
I don't know. I'm trying to.
I suggested Up in Smoke since it was 420.
Oh, for 420. Yeah, it was.
Puff Puff Pass.
Puff Puff Pass and I Don't Inhale.
What was the first one?
Puff Puff Pass.
Puff Puff Pass.
Puff Pass. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
or Puff Puff Give, whatever.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back.
We heard every word you said.
No,
right.
No, I'm diabetic in it, so I need to eat on time. So I better got some dinner.
Got a hot mic there, fella.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I'm surprised it picked that up. These Q2Us are supposed to block background.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine doesn't. Mine does not pick up all that stuff. He does have the gain up pretty high though, so.
I guess Joe's the only one in the room right now not using a Q2U.
Correct.
No, I switched to my Electro Voice RE320. I have both.
This bad boy.
Only if you sing rockabilly.
This is the most expensive one I've got. This is a ribbon mic.
Oh, pretty.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a whole lot of something in front of your face.
Is that gain better?
I still have my
just the way Bill likes
Yeti. The Yeti.
Well, now that's USB only, isn't it? The Yeti.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's that funky USB D like you saw on a lot of printers and stuff.
There's a. What the heck is he
Leo
called?
said once everybody got a good mic, Eric had to come and show you all up. What is that one you're using, Eric?
So the famous one, this is Electro Voice. It's an RE320. The famous one is an RE20, which is the one you'll see like broadcasters, a lot of in studio broadcasters who use it. It's the claim to fame of this is that it doesn't have that proximity effect, that it just has a sort of clean sound as you get closer and closer and come back off of it. It's, I don't know, it could be complete horseshit for all I know, but it
What? What was that? Custom?
the dramatic boom. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, a good place to look for mics, like if you don't mind a used one, is Guitar Centers.
Oh yeah.
Actually have a really nice used musical instrument and stuff. So this is I think it's like 360, 380, something like that new. And I got it for, I think, $225, something like that. And these things are made, like you could literally pound a nail in with it. It's so just solid. So I don't think it'll ever go wrong. And yeah, I liked it. I tried the SM7B and I'm a little sibling. I have a little sharp ass sometimes, and it had a bit of a problem with that. And so I ended up trying this. And I think this suits my voice. I still have to dial back the bass a little bit. So on my mixer, I actually dropped the low frequencies just a little, probably by like 15-20%. So I was producing a podcast and I would listen on headphones, but then not on like larger speakers, and then I would listen in the car, and the car just has a much bassier sound, and my voice was just booming. I'm like, this isn't really comfortable to listen to. So yeah, I just figured I dialed it back a little bit, and I don't know. I've had much better luck doing things in mixer, like doing things up front, than doing them with effects after the fact. So, I mean, I have a very, very simple Behringer, cheapo, like $100 mixer. But it's good enough. It has just what I need. It's a single. Single?
Yeah, I've been adding on my bass on Full Circle Weekly News using Audacity.
2 episodes ago, your bass was way over, just like real muddy, and then the last one was fine. So
well, I use exactly the same settings on both shows.
Couldn't have been. Honestly, if you go back, Moss, and you listen to, I'll find it, because it was like noticeable. I was like, wow, that your mic was just real muddy. Like there was no top end on it.
I literally use the same setting. I just click the button, bass treble, I click OK, and that's it.
Listen to 328. Just humor me. Listen to 328 and then listen to 329. And
I've had a lot of differences between shows, and I do not know because I use exactly the same settings almost every time.
Yeah, but the way audio works on computers, and that's why
I usually save compression till last.
Yeah, if I had the money, I would do it all in audio gear, like all in analog audio gear, and before it ever even got to the computer, I would have the gate, the compressor. There are these devices. I have to find the name of it, but you can do all of that stuff in line, and you tune it exactly the way you want it. And then, like you're saying, once you have it that way, and it's in the audio gear, when you sit down, the computer isn't even a variable. It's just whether or not it's getting the signal and you can record it. The problem I've always had is if I'm pissing around with gates and, any kind of post signal processing, I always have problems with it. It just is never, and it'll literally be the same day. I'll sit down, I'll record something, I'll get up, go away for a couple hours, come back, and I didn't touch a thing. And something's different.
I may not sound like a professional, but at least I get it done every week.
No, Moss, you that's the thing. So 328 and 326 and everything else is very clean, very professional. It's very intelligible and easy to
Far,
understand.
I've done 2 without my teeth, and the second time, some people thought I developed a new lisp.
That's funny.
A lot of the stuff happening in the back of my mouth is a lot cleaner without my teeth in.
Thank your father, kids. Thanks, Dad.
All right, Joe. I did notice that somebody added our transition music, so we can actually do that live now.
Well, the problem is that it only allows you to do 5.2 seconds, so it's not the full transition. But that was my thought when I was trying to upload that one. The thanks, Dad, there is just something that I always like to have handy.
Thank your father, kids. Thanks, Dad.
Name that TV show.
Married with Children.
Thanks, Dad. Yeah, they
Ow. You know what? I went back and watched some of that because it's on Hulu.
Love watching it.
And it is so of its era.
What is that?
I mean, so
Married
of
with
its
Children.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you weren't alive when that show aired, I don't think anyone could watch that and be like, it doesn't make any sense. You're like, why is this funny? You know, if you.
It was pushing boundaries in those days.
Well, it was the new age.
The map.
Well, yeah, no doubt.
Too bad
but
it only put Fox TV on the map, and they should have just buried Fox News.
Can you believe that The Simpsons are still on?
Yeah.
Does that
Sadly,
not
yes.
They
blow your mind?
Futurama.
I remember being 14 years old in Times Square in New York buying a bootleg t-shirt. Remember when Bart Simpson t-shirts were huge?
Yeah.
I remember buying like a bunch of these rip-off, street vendor Simpson t-shirts, Eat My Shorts and all the rest of it. And like, I'm 48 years old now. That show is still on.
Matt Groening was only known for his Life in Hell cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably haven't watched The Simpsons. Well, definitely not regularly for a long time, but I don't think I've even seen an episode for maybe 7-8 years. I have no idea what material they're coming up with now. I mean, they must have, talk about flogging a dead horse.
It's all topical.
That horse is already, decomposed and has become a fruit tree or something.
Yeah.
That's how blooming. I don't know what they're talking. Maybe I need to watch it, and maybe they've become really clever, and I've just not understood it or something. But
I haven't
you know
watched
what?
it in ages.
It's very topical. It's just like South Park. They rely on current events, and that's kind of what keeps it going. Is just whatever the new trend is, whatever the new meme is, whatever the new hype cycle, whatever that's what they chase. And
I'm making money right now. I have actually renewed my betting on football. I borrowed $25 from the household. And when I have more than $25, I will pay the household back and then keep betting on what's left until I run out. Which last year lasted me until about the 8th week of the season, which wasn't too bad.
As long as it's for fun and you don't, start losing possessions over it.
Hey, $25, who's going to come after me?
Right. As it's for fun and you don't.
Right now, I think I just finished winning a ton of money on the Colorado-Nebraska game. Everyone has been buying into the hype that Colorado is a junk team that has no players on it. And I'm going, okay, they won one game last year. There are 80 players on the team that weren't on it last year.
So do you do that do you have a sort of level of insight into all of your bets? Like you feel confident because you have some understanding of the dynamics and the...
I am not the most knowledgeable sports bettor in the world, but if I feel there's some reason to bet on something, I'll bet on it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Colorado, I actually have, they had the ability to say Colorado will win 5 or more games. And for sure I'm going for that one. Coach Prime does not take losses easily.
The question I've got to ask is, who has the patience to actually watch an American football game from beginning to end? I actually enjoy American football, but I can
Not
only
me,
watch
brother.
highlights. I can only watch highlights. I can't
Yeah.
watch it live. It just
Nope.
does my head in.
Well, that's because you're there for the sportsmanship as opposed to the what's the word I'm looking for? Strategy. Strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like watching race cars go around the track and make the same left turn.
I mean, like
So-
I watch cricket. Yeah, cricket, one of the slowest games known to man. There's a version of it which goes on for 5 days. So it's not like I haven't got the patience for it.
Scored or anything. Yes.
But
yeah.
It's like
You-
baseball. Unless you're big into statistics, then baseball is boring.
Baseball
I
is
think-
a fabulous sport if you are into statistics.
Exactly. If you're
It
into
has
statistics,
everything.
yes.
yeah, cricket's like that as well.
I
Actually,
got into tabletop gaming in my youth, and in those days we
Me
only
too.
had dice versions of baseball. Dice or I don't think anyone ever came out with a spinner version, but yeah, we had. I was in a league that used the replay baseball game, and then they switched to something else that I don't know. Anyhow, so yeah,
Basketball is okay.
I had a
That's
basketball
fairly
game on the
constant.
market at one time. Nobody bought it, but I had it on the market.
Basketball is fairly constant, but then I don't see how more people aren't into hockey. Hockey is awesome.
well, you would say that, wouldn't you?
Why would I say that? I live in the South.
Hockey is the only sport.
The problem is every now and again a baseball game breaks out.
What are you talking about, Majid? Tell me how.
No, I'm just
Right.
saying that because you like hockey, hence you're obviously going to say that hockey is a great sport.
Okay.
I just mean that. That's what I mean.
No, hockey is a
I'm
great
amazed
sport.
that the American Lacrosse Association hasn't taken on because it's the same damn sport just played on grass.
That's
So
part of the
here-
problem.
Here's why I love hockey, and I've started to like soccer more, is that you have long periods of play where things can develop and you come forward and you come back, and there's just, and in hockey there's a lot of line changes, there's a lot of strategy and sort of like keeping the play, the momentum, and it's just that to me is compelling, whereas like something like American football is just so slow, like.
Oh no, it's a whole chess game. You get to see
No,
all
it
the
is.
players being moved around.
If you're ignoring the play to play, then football has its aspects. If you're looking at the overall strategy that they're doing, then yeah, there are actually some similarities with hockey. Because if you look at a hockey game, the start of the hockey game is very different than the middle of the hockey game, and very different from the end of the hockey game.
I cannot recall the last time I saw two lacrosse players throw their gloves off and just start duking it out and blood.
It doesn't
everywhere.
happen.
that's what they need.
It doesn't happen as much as it used to in hockey. There are strict rules against it being that violent anymore. But also, like the start of the season is very different than the middle of the season is very different from the end of the season in hockey because different things are happening. If you're very near the end of the season, but you're before the playoffs, then you have teams that already know that they're not going to make the playoffs because they don't have the points for it. So then a lot of times those teams, their entire goal is to go out there on the ice and headhunt your best players so that you do worse in the playoffs.
And that's
so
why
that
you have goons to protect him.
Well, it depends on what type of team you're playing. If you're playing a very fast-paced team, much like the Penguins do, their whole thing is moving across the ice as quickly as possible. They actually don't have a whole lot of enforcement that goes on there, and they get rid of players that spend too much time doing enforcement. So you have to, they're going to eventually have to change their play because Crosby's getting up there in years for a hockey player.
Invite everyone to listen to the hockey song by Warren Zevon.
Hey, you guys asked for this. You guys started talking smack about me liking hockey, so.
Joe, I'm with you, brother. You and I can like hockey. They can like everything else.
I like
the rugby union World Cup is going on.
Although indoor soccer has some interesting. Basically, you put soccer in a hockey rink.
Soccer can be very interesting because once again, very fast paced, very heavy on the strategy. But yeah, I guess hockey's starting to suffer from some of the same problem where you're looking at long seasons. I mean, have you looked at the hockey season now?
Oh my
what is it,
gosh.
80 games?
How to make it through that healthy? I mean, that's
Right.
hard.
It's like
Yep.
3/4 of the year. You're grinding out on the
Yep.
ice, shooting back and forth, getting beat to death.
Yep.
Schedule is basketball.
Well,
though.
and you talk about ebbs and flows, man. You know, a team, the way the standings go between, you know, someone who comes out fast in the beginning and really is doing well, there's no guarantee that they're going to have the longevity and the health and like to be able to get through the season. The season itself
Oh, the
is
crazy injuries
such,
people come back from.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just that in and of itself is just a huge sort of litmus test. And then you get to the playoffs, and there, I don't care what anyone says, there is nothing like playoff hockey. It is unbelievable how hard these people push themselves, the lengths they're
Playing
willing
that
to go
many
to.
games to get there.
Which
Oh,
is
and
why
then-
which is why they quit sending people to the All-Star game.
right. I mean, people still go, but usually it's the people who are on teams that probably aren't going to be in the playoffs. But yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I never liked football, and unfortunately, it's Steeler country, so I was always the odd man out until I was in, just starting like end of middle school, high school, and the Penguins got good. And then they started winning cups, and it was like, oh, wait, you've always been a hockey fan, and now everybody loves hockey, right? And it's like, you posers.
I did baseball, I did basketball, and I was on the wrestling team.
Yeah, I wrestled when
Well,
I was young, and it didn't last, though.
1 second left on the clock. Colorado 36, Nebraska 14. Nebraska was a 20-point favorite in this game.
Most of the stuff I did was either middle school or early high school because I was 5'2", 92 pounds. They didn't want me on the football team. And then by the time I started growing at about 16, it all happened at roughly the same time. I grew like 9 inches and 70 pounds in 6-8 months there. I actually ended up my bones were growing faster than my tendons and ligaments and muscles could keep up with, so that they were grinding together. So every time I tried to run, my knees would swell up like basketballs. So,
And then you just take them off and use them as basketballs.
oh yeah.
Eastern Kentucky has gone to a 7-0 lead over Kentucky. Considering Eastern Kentucky's nobody and Kentucky's in the SEC, that's something to remark on. Anyhow, so it looks like I have won my bet, and I couldn't believe how much they're paying me to bet on Colorado.
Which platform are you using?
DraftKings.
Okay.
I made a $2 bet. There was a $25 bonus. If I win, I get $14 plus the bonus.
So, what are we talking about next week?
Sports.
We're talking about the Penguins and their relationship to Linux.
Well,
that wasn't lost on me that I ended up loving Linux.
My wife is the person that got me into hockey, so it was later in life for me that I got into hockey. But she gave me a Penguins jersey, and I obviously, I went to school for computer science and engineering, and I wore. This was University of Texas at El Paso, if this tells you anything. I wore my Penguins jersey, and I went in, and I got all my nerd friends there, and we're all learning stuff in college, and they're like, "That's a nice Linux jersey you got there." Yep, it is.
oh,
Why is Tux wearing skates? Well, and then they went through that period with that hideous triangular logo, with the gray and gold, and it's so bad. Thank goodness they. Oh, what do we got? Built
Some parts still in working order. Not many though.
Oh my. Unrestored? No work done, huh?
There's nothing artificial in me.
All right. I can't say that anymore.
Yeah, I don't have my teeth.
You're technically a cyborg.
I am. You know, it's actually funny. They offered me a choice between two different types of implant or replacement joint. One is just the standard, which is the one I got. It's just a normal sort of ball and socket. But they had this other one where if I was going to be more active, that was like a a larger socket and then another socket inside of that and then the ball. And so it gave it more, I guess, flexibility.
Range of motion.
Yeah, more range of motion. And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool that you've got a choice. And who knows, maybe someday there will be something more.
I can keep lifting weights well into, Moss's age.
Yeah.
And I'll still be prettier than Bill.
I had to look up how old.
Well, that's not hard, Joe.
Well,
in Saturn 3, I had to look up how old. What's his face?
Kirk Douglas
is. Kirk Douglas was in that. He was 60. I think like 60, right on the nose. Because they kept showing him like doing.
He is
jumping.
ripped.
Well, they're showing him doing jumping jacks and running and all this stuff, and definitely
they kept
like
showing off his ass.
Right, and he's definitely an older guy in that. But
he was still like maybe 7% body fat, 8% body fat.
Yeah, he was in pretty good shape, no doubt. So anyway, genetics were kind to him. He lived to be 103. That was pretty impressive.
I'm not there yet. My great-grandpa made it to 102, and my grandma made it to 101.
But imagine that, Moss. If you lived, I mean that
94 though.
That would mean you'd have another.
Doctors gave her.
That would mean you'd have another 40 years.
Moss is just happy that he made it to yesterday.
I mean, that's crazy to me to think like, all right, I'm 48. Let's say, even if I live a normal lifespan and hit 75, I mean, that still means that I've got 20 some years left, which
I don't like thinking like
that.
Sounds like a grind. Because I'll probably retire about 6 months after I'm dead. So.
But then Jimmy Buffett also did a lot more drugs than I did.
How's Mick Jagger still around?
Oh, they've got a new single out, the Rolling Stones.
Right. They're gonna do a new album, yeah. First album in like 20 some years.
I think it's out already.
Oh, is it?
So what's
how old is Mick Jagger?
Yes.
Oh, he's in
I think he's like 80.
70.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's like, yeah.
Yeah, I keep hearing that song "Got the Moves Like Jagger," and I go, I dance like a 70-year-old white man too. But
Bill.
So he's born in 1943. So that makes him 80.
Yes, sir.
You were really close to the mic there.
Yeah, I was getting.
We're
I was getting ready to.
Gonna drop some knowledge. Okay. Gonna tell us what it's all about.
I was gonna change the mood.
Well, hey there, everybody.
Well, we had a nice mood going.
Welcome to the
mintCast.
Thank your father, kids. Thanks, Dad.
I'm your host, Eric.
Welcome to
mintCast. Late night.
That's right.
I fucked it up.
Yeah, well, those shows already exist. We need a new one. Midnight Linux.
Midnight Linux. We're glad to have you here.
That's right.
I think we could pull it off. I think that's the one.
I think we need a female on the show, though.
Oh, right,
what?
right. So that we could talk like that, and she just chimes in. Oh, hey guys, it's good to be here.
No, someone with a soft, sultry.
I am ripping that out of the recording, and I am adding that to the soundboard, Bill. I'm going to let you know that now.
Hey guys.
Good to see you guys.
We're going to have a special Bill dedicated soundboard.
That was very cartoon. Very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lucrative voiceover career in your future.
Yeah, right.
Channeling Mel Blanc.
I think AI is going to decimate voiceover.
We're trying to channel a late night DJ, and he's channeling Mel Blanc. This is a perfect show.
Have you seen these kind of AI songs where like they've taken someone else's voice and got them to sing.
Yeah, there's a guy called There I Ruined It for you. It's I don't know if he says for you, but There I Ruined It.
Stuff. Yeah.
And he did it's like Slim Pickens doing Ice Cube, like "Welcome to Compton, I'm a crazy ass mother." It's just like
no, but the ones that I remember is like what if Paul McCartney sang some of the Beatles songs rather than John Lennon? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that, and they were like, whoa, it's like mind bending.
Well, I also have Roy Zimmerman. What if the Beatles were Irish? Having everything.
What's astonishing is that, and I've been playing around with Stable Diffusion, so like image generation, and what's astonishing is how little training data you need to be able to generate any random person. Like I think I've seen that you basically only need about 12 seconds of decent audio of somebody speaking, and that's enough to extrapolate out all the other possible sounds, and it may not be 100% perfect. Like if you had more data, it would probably be a better. But what did I see?
Yeah, Joe and I were just lamenting a few weeks ago how Amazon has removed Ask Samuel from their choices on Alexa. You could say, "Hey Alexa, ask Samuel what the weather is."
Nope, I
sure,
thought Samuel
look it up, motherfucker.
I thought Samuel was gone.
It's gone. I said we were lamenting about it being gone.
Oh,
but
they had
that was AI.
Yeah, I just saw a video where they had David Attenborough doing the voiceover. I mean, obviously it wasn't him, but his voice over something, and like he's making, he was swearing and like just all. It was very well done, but also very out of character. So it wasn't hard to tell. Like obviously that wasn't him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, those iconic voices. It's just like, I don't know. That is definitely one of those things with AI where I'm like, the source material, text for ChatGPT, and Stable Diffusion with all the images that they take from everywhere, social media, everything else. And audio sources, the same thing. Like the way they procure the data is so sleazy. And really, they're doing it without anyone knowing they're doing it, and it's done. The cat's out of the bag. Like it's not like they're going to go back and say, "Oh, okay." I mean, how they didn't have a stronger policy in place to sort of control that in the first place. Like if somebody must have just made a conscious decision to say, "Well, it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission." We're just going to do it, and
let's make money first and worry about the legality of it later.
Right. So, oh my.
Okay.
If we have enough money, it will be legal.
The fun part is I haven't played with Docker in probably 5 years because it's just not something that I've had to play with. All my servers are bare metal and that kind of stuff, but this gave me an opportunity to run. It's very resource intensive, so it's hard. I have 6 gigs of memory on my GPU, and that's bottom, like that is as bare minimum as you could get. So you have to do a lot of tricks and tweaks, and so I've been trying like different containers and different, so it's been interesting to go back and sort of play around with that stuff. I don't know. I was
vaporware.
I was an admin
with Docker a while ago,
but I was a sysadmin before Cloud. Cloud had just started whenever I was sort of right at the end of my career. I mean, not by choice because I got sick, but so all of the sort of DevOps stuff, like that has superseded sysadmin stuff, is not really. I mean,
okay. I want you to think back to when you first started out as a sysadmin.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember all that stuff that you had to put a stop to, all that cowboy release shit where people weren't actually paying attention to the process?
Yep.
Welcome to DevOps.
Yeah, I know. And that's exactly what it seems like. It just feels like they have some interesting tools, Terraform and Ansible and like all these sort of stuff for the repeatable process. And like some of it is interesting and would have solved some problems. But some of the other stuff like security on containers and like it's just sloppy, and I just don't feel as comfortable or confident with it than I do just give me a box.
Well, does it feel sloppy because you've got all of these old libraries stacked up inside these containers?
Yeah.
And because I've noticed that it helps when you're running an a workload that's depending on libraries that just are not in the latest version of the host operating system anymore. And it gives the developers the opportunity to, if they can't make it work with the new thing, or it doesn't work as well with the new thing, you can build it based on the old tool chains, and then you have a more performant service that way. That's kind of the argument,
The promise of sorry.
Well, yeah, because it's like I've got containers where the base system, the base image on the container is 1804, and then I've got some that are running like Debian 10, or even I had one that was running Debian 9 on the base image. And you just wouldn't build a server that way if you were putting everything on bare metal. But it works with Docker because and the same thing's true with Flatpaks. Like I use a piece of software called Avidemux to
Majid.
Don't look
behind you.
Majid.
Look behind you. Someone was coming in the door.
There's a spider on the wall. Watch out.
One of those big TikTok spiders that covers the whole wall. Like
the promise of containers to me, like, so my base technology was virtual machines. Everything was a virtual machine. We had server farms that were just spin up a virtual machine. Like that's how you got things done. You needed a throwaway development environment. Fine, just spin up a virtual machine. It's repeatable. You've got images that you can use, and it's the same image every time. So I mean, virtual machines had solved a lot of the physical hardware constraint problems that infrastructure had forever. When I started, virtual machines didn't exist, or at least not in an accessible, sort of usable way. So I did everything. Literally, we had our server room was just DOS boxes that were process systems, because it was single threaded. You couldn't have multiple processes running per box. So we literally had, our solution was 50 individual PCs all running the same process, but that's how we would scale it basically. And then we went to servers that would allow us to sort of have multitasking, and then you'd sort of scale by having more servers. And then eventually it was virtualization and virtual machines, and we had server farms that we could then carve out virtual machines from. And like each successive thing made a lot of sense because it solved big problems from the previous generation of the way you did things. So I'm sure if I was still in the industry when containerization became the norm, I probably would have. But here's the problem I have, though. It becomes like the hammer for all problems, right? If what you know is DevOps and containerization, then you want to apply that to everything, even though it may not be the best solution for the situation. And I'm sure Joe, deals with this a lot. When you're planning out architecture and stuff like that, like if everyone sees the world through the lens of like cloud and containerization, then that's all they can see. And I feel like that's someone that has that background of physical server, virtualization, containerization. You can kind of, there are situations where all those things make sense.
Well, everyone seems to forget that the cloud is just someone else's computer.
I think the containerization was, I see it as kind of a continuation on the whole concept of setting up all these virtual machines to do your different workloads and that, except the containerization just seems to scale a little bit better, because instead of having one machine that might be able to run two virtual machines fairly well, now you can take that same machine and you can run 16 containerized workloads on it.
Right.
So I mean, it kind of slims down the scale a little bit, while also I think it's a lot less complexity, because instead of having an entire tool chain, including the kernel that needs to be kept up to date, that needs to stay patched, each one individually. Now just the container needs to have the stuff that gets outside of the host or outside of the container itself kept up to date. So to me it's kind of a matter of scaling and being able to add so much more. But I do see people's point when they're most people that have a problem with the containerized thing is they always seem to say that they worry that it sort of obfuscates the server skill set. People are not learning how to set up Apache and PHP and all that stuff anymore. They're just going and grabbing an image, and eventually that skill set is just going to disappear. And I can
many funny words, Bill.
I
have never used a VM. The only time I used containerization was because it's built into Blend OS.
Okay.
distro box. Yeah.
So I see people's concerns about it, sure enough.
Well, and containers are, you're absolutely right. They scale much more readily because you don't have to deal with the underlying operating system and dependencies and all of that stuff. And it's just much less overhead. You don't have to dedicate so much memory and processor and all that stuff. But I've just had difficulty personally, and this is my own ignorance, of just being able to get the right combination of like, how do I run everything as one giant container? So I have a database and a web server and all these different processes and stuff. Is that just one container, or do I have to do it as separate ones? And frankly, the level of complexity that adds, unless I need to scale, it's just easier for me to have a virtual machine that I say, okay, this is a web server. This is and that virtual machine is Ubuntu 2004. And, I've got Apache or Nginx and whatever, it's just, to me, that is the container that I want.
I've seen some like really unusual setups where people try to get around the whole resources issue by making shared resource pools. And now you don't know that you're a part of the pool unless you're working on the back end. But you could have X number of processors available at this time to be able to use depending on your load. But I've also seen that fail horribly and people not be able to diagnose it because they don't know that some other system is using all the freaking resources because they have no access to it to be able to see what's going on there. So they end up with two processors and like no RAM, and then they're wondering why their application won't run.
So I think when you were talking about all these different containers that have to be spun up to pull off one job, well, okay, so I use Docker Compose for all of this stuff. Take the mintCast website, for example. The mintCast website depends, first off, on the WordPress Docker image. But then inside of that Docker Compose, I'm also spinning up a MariaDB image, and then I'm also spinning up a Redis server image.
So you're not making your own LAMP stack. You're
not for the website,
just spinning up images.
Because when you're talking websites, the Docker way of doing it, well, it solves the problem of not having to have multiple IP addresses and things like that. You can just give them a port number, and then like I also use Nginx Reverse Proxy Manager, which is also a Docker image, and it handles all of the TLS and the HTTP stuff for me. It goes and gets the certificates, and then it knows that it doesn't matter what's going on the container side on the other side of the reverse proxy, because all of the TLS is...
Leo is leaving little snarky notes in our public.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
But you have options when you're setting up, like the mintCast website, for example. It's got its very own MariaDB container. It's got its very own Redis server container for the object cache. And these things you could have, like I've got 4 websites running in separate containers on that server. And I could have them sharing the same Redis image and just create separate, within that image, I could create separate profiles. But then by not doing that, by having each one of the websites use its very own image, now I've got the benefit of being able, if I need to copy that image over to another machine, or I need to tear one thing down completely, one website down completely, I can do that without affecting any of the other websites that are running, including the database. Now, if you had one server on bare metal, you could, in theory, run several different Apache servers, and you would have the one MariaDB or MySQL server with the several different databases on there. But then if you lose MariaDB, you lose the whole thing at that point. If you have database trouble, you lose the database for all these. Whereas if I have any problem I have on any one individual website or any of the databases associated to those websites, I can rebuild that instead of having to rebuild the whole thing, which is kind of the one benefit.
I'm going to interrupt here. Leo, I say hockey just fine. Okay?
You're supposed to say hacky.
Hockey.
Like hacky.
Hockey.
Oh, gosh, Leo. Leo's in a mood again.
Yep.
I'm just tired. I need to sleep more.
Sleep.
I blame Leo. It's his fault.
I do think, though, that people are using it. They're using the containers. I don't know that people are using it too much, but I think I see I understand the fear of just relying on it for everything, even when you don't have to,
Yeah, and I know I'm old school, and honestly, like I said, using it lately. So especially for something like these weird setups that have a lot of like Python scripts, and there's so many complex dependencies, and this stuff seems so fragile in a lot of ways. Like having that be a container that you can just spin up, like the repeatability of that is very attractive, because otherwise you're troubleshooting like which libraries installed, which version of Python you've got, like on and on and on. So I totally get how, and just having used it, like I said recently, like I can completely see how there's a huge advantage to doing that in many cases. And yeah, I think it's just something that I need to, well, maybe not need, but it's something that I would like to spend a little more time doing. And
Eric, you're old school, I'm homeschool.
You're no school.
School of hard knocks, yeah.
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 Anyway,
it is
just
worth
20
getting
miles
into.
down the road from me.
When I had to spin up all this stuff, all these servers, and I decided I was going to learn this the proper way, and I did a lot of the online courses for it, and a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of good video tutorials out there for Docker and all that, because I wanted to learn how to use it to the get the most advantage out of it. And it was worth.
Well, to your credit,
time.
yeah, and to your credit, you're willing to do that. Self-hosting, you know, knowing how difficult that can be, especially if it's anything that's facing the open internet. I mean, I'll spin up a server, and literally within seconds, I'm getting attacked. I mean, it's so pervasive and constant. And if you don't understand the basics of like how to manage a server, you know, I just think it's a dangerous thing for a lot of people. This idea that, oh yeah, just self-host it. You know, it's easy, and people just, and that's I guess the whole copy paste phenomena, or the idea that you just take a Docker file and spin it up, and oh well, it happens to work, and then great, and then when it doesn't work, it's like, oh, now what? You know, I feel like it's good that the tools exist and the knowledge is out there. I just feel like people kind of half-ass it a lot, and then you end up with.
It's worth, like, once you get, okay, like I'll use WordPress and Nextcloud as an example. Both of those things have mechanisms for monitoring and warning you and giving you suggestions for issues regarding security, you know, and like well, WordPress, for example, it will bug you about, hey, you need to get into your PHP config and disable this thing, or you need to add this line to it. And then, of course, Nextcloud just outright will refuse to work unless you've got certain security things done correctly. But you do have to go, and if you're going to self-host, you have to accept the responsibility for the stuff that you're putting out there, and you got to put the right diligence into it. But if you do that and you do it right and you don't half-ass it, then it will work. And you know, I can go on the road all week long, and this stuff just hums away without any trouble, and you know, have the right tools in place, where if there is a problem, you know, there's options as to how to get it fixed, you know. But like I said, it takes, if you decide you're going to take it upon yourself to do self-hosting, you can't just set these things up and then forget about them. They've got to be like your pets, you know, basically. It's kind of the way I look at it.
Yep. Yep,
See,
absolutely.
If you just put a lobster on my head, I'd make a good Klingon.
Yeah.
That was random.
Of course. It was a visual.
So, any ideas about like what to talk about?
Well, Dale is doing some more history.
Oh, okay.
What's that all about? Moss?
What's it all about, Alfie? I think talk to Joe. Moss. Joe knows more about. I'm right here. Joe knows more about than I do.
I'm trying to remember what he was doing last time. It was it the history of
the desktop
GUI graphical user interfaces. So I think he's planning on continuing on that. But it'll be history based. It'll mostly be him presenting and us discussing about it, or interjecting where we wish to.
I can dig it.
Well, guys.
So basically, our responsibilities will be the bi-weekly and setting up the news and security, and bring something interesting to check this out, and yell at people until they send us emails.
Okay.
There was an email.
Sounds like you got it.
So we'll have to look into that before. But well, if nobody has anything else,
Eric, we're doing distro hoppers this week.
This week?
Yeah, he's going to be home Monday.
You're a podcasting fool this week. All right, kids. Well, I'm going to end the stream.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.